Hey everyone, guess what time it is? It's science time. Now let's get learning. So for this video, I'm going to get a bit more technical. So this may be kind of difficult to understand. Some of the information in here is going to be rather abstract. But if you're interested in this type of astronomy and geometry, this may appeal to you. If not, you might want to just kind of skip over this video here. But if you are really interested in knowing what's going on and a little bit more about the geometry and why we see the things that we see, you may find this to be interesting. So there's a lot of technicality that's in this video here. So what I have here is a ball here that's going to be representing the Earth. And right now I have it where this line going through the middle of it, that's the axis. So we can say this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole down here. Now I could not draw continents on here, so I use these different shapes on here. There's a star, a 5-point star, a 6 or 7-point star, and a rectangle, which is kind of in the shadow right here. It's taking the side of this, and we can kind of think about these as being continents. Then what I have here is, this is kind of like a globe. And right now, the globe is exactly the same thing. It's just a smaller version of what we see over here. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the actual poles are parallel to each other. So no matter how I rotate this line and this line are always the same. Something else too, these are both oriented in the same direction. Now there's a light source I have off in the distance. Let me show you here. So this bar right here is acting as a light source, or actually this line right here. Let me go back to the rendered view. And one thing you'll see here is that this area is being lit up. Now, something else I want you to also notice too, is that because the light source is at a certain location, what is being lit up here and the amount that's being lit up here is the same thing that you see right here, what I'm going to call the globe. Okay, so we have the globe and the actual Earth. Okay, and no matter how I turn this, they are going to be nearly identical to each other. So this lower left corner here, or portion, is being lit up exactly the same thing as this. If you look at the stars on here, they're being lit up the same way. So everything about them is exactly the same. Now, this is going to require a little bit more thought. So what I've done is I've taken this, and let's say this star is where we live. For me, it's going to be Ohio. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to turn on these other ones here. So now, what I've done here, again, this is going to be, this large circle right here represents the Earth, and this little circle is going to be representing the globe. Now, let's say this star is, say, Ohio is located. So therefore, the same thing is also going to be true right here. If I take this globe and attach a string right there where Ohio is located and have it hanging straight down, in a sense, and if I have this also pointed towards the North Star, so I'm backing out a little bit. So this would be the axial tilt of the Earth, and for all intents and purposes, where we live, this can be considered to be the top of the Earth relative to us. And this pole is going to be pointing towards the North Star that is so far away, you might as well say it's practically at infinity. So if I hold this globe and have where the home is pointing straight up, so in this case, Ohio was located, and I have this aligned towards the North Star. So I have polar line to the North Star. This globe is parallel to the Earth. Okay, hopefully you can see that here. So this line is parallel to this line. And whatever continent we're calling this rectangle is going to be exactly in line with this. If I rotate it around, you'll see this multi-starred down here at the bottom. It's going to be exactly the same that you see over here. So this star right here, this 5-star, is, say this is the state of Ohio on the Earth. This will be state of Ohio on the globe. And again, if you look at this, everything about it, those two things are exactly parallel. So if I have a little pole sticking out of Ohio, the type of shadow that's being cast onto this globe is going to be exactly the same thing as me sticking a post in the ground and seeing the shadow being cast onto the Earth. Now, there is kind of a neat phenomenon that takes place. So let's say right here is the moon. Okay, so right now I'm in the position where I'm standing on top of the star, which is, for me, I'm going to call Ohio. All right, so if you look at the moon, you'll see this kind of upper right-hand section is being lit up. Now, if I hold a ball, put a styrofoam ball and hold it up in line with the moon, similar to looking at it like this, one thing you'll notice here is exactly the same region will be lit up. If I change the position of the light to say that's over here, you'll notice what we see on the moon would be exactly what I see on that ball. If I change the position of the light again, see right here. So basically the front part of the moon is being lit up. If I hold a ball in line with the moon, you'll see the same thing happening here. If I move it over to this section, see right about here. So what I see here on the moon will be the same thing that I see on this ball here. And the reason why that happens, so if I kind of zoom out a little bit and look at this from a different perspective, what I see on the moon will be exactly the same thing that I see on that ball. And what's happening on this globe, and if I hold it up so that the home is pointing straight up and it's polar aligned to the North Star, then what's happening on this globe is exactly the same thing that you see on the Earth. So that's a little bit of geometry. And this is probably the reason why sometimes when you go outside and say during the daytime and you see the moon is up in the sky, and you also see the sun up there, and when you look at it, it looks like the phase of the moon does not make a whole lot of sense. But you have to look at things a little bit differently. You have to look at it three-dimensionally. And one thing that you'll notice is that if you hold up a fist or hold up a ball and line it up to the moon in front of you, that the area that's being lit up on that ball will be exactly the same thing that you see on the moon. Now, there's also another phenomenon that happens on occasion, is that sometimes when you look at the moon, and if it's in close proximity to Venus, way off in the distance, if they are close to each other, if you're looking through a telescope or a good set of binoculars, you'll see Venus had the same phase as the moon. And that's a strong indication here that the sunlight that's reaching us and also reaching all the other planets, they're so far away from the sun that the sunlight is practically parallel. And so this is one of those neat geometries that takes place because of the earth that we live on and the position and the distances that we exist away from the sun. This is one of those things here that can only exist in the fact that we live on this spherical earth. So hopefully you found this interesting and helpful. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. Have a good day and happy viewing.